Hey guys, it's Nicole with Speedy Puzzle Vibes, and today I want to talk about interval training. And this whole idea came from looking at the 2025 World Jigsaw Puzzle live stream with Victor from Poland, who was talking to Rodrigo from Mexico about how to increase their speed. And Michelle Casper from the EJJ was also there, and this is what they said.
What I struggle with exactly is speed. How could I increase my rhythm or speed?
Just maintain it from the start to the very end, right?
Yeah.
So I would recommend for the training at your home, you can start stopping yourself. Let's set a timer for like 8 minutes, and every 8 minutes you stop, and then you start again with the same speed. And then you can take, the longer intervals, and so that your speed will be more consistent.
As a person who used to run a lot, what Victor is saying makes so much sense. And there are a lot of different interval trainings that you can actually do. At least in the running world, there are ladders, there are fartleks, there's short intervals, long intervals. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do. And so my plan is to do this puzzle at the very beginning. It's Puzzle Community, and it was used in the 2025 individual competition at the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship. Do this puzzle first, record my time, do 6 weeks of interval training, and then come back to this puzzle at the end to see, did I get faster or did I not get faster? We shall see. Step number 1, do the community puzzle. I ended up finishing it in 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 1 second. After the baseline puzzle, I ended up doing 6 weeks of interval training using 3 different types of intervals. The first one I'm going to call short intervals, and what I would do is I would take a 100-piece puzzle, and I prefer these little puzzle snacks by Workshop. They're just really good little puzzles. The puzzle pieces are not that large in comparison to a Ravensburger piece puzzle. Let me see if I can take one out here real quick. They're about that big, and in comparison, a Ravensburger piece puzzle it's smaller, but at least it's not a large format puzzle piece, which is really nice. So I would do these particular puzzles for about an hour, and this is just one of the 3 different intervals that I ended up doing over the 6 weeks. Long interval training, what I ended up doing was taking a 300 or 500 piece puzzle. They didn't all have to be the same brand. I would just mix it up kind of as whatever I saw fit at the time. And then to do where I would puzzle for 1 minute on as fast as possible, and then 1 minute off where I was just going slow at a leisurely pace. Eventually, over time, I ended up increasing this to 5 minutes on, where I would puzzle 5 minutes very rapidly, and then about 1 minute to 2 minutes off, where I would slow down and really try to puzzle a little slower. One of the big things I noticed when I was doing these long intervals was that I would end up, if I'm puzzling and trying to put stuff together, I would end up hunching my shoulders up. And this is the biggest lesson I learned from doing these long intervals, is that I need to learn how to relax. My shoulders just get shoved up to my ears, and I have a lot of tension that I'm carrying in my body. Something that I really, really need to work on moving forward. The last interval training that I ended up doing for the 6 weeks was called fartleks, or a version of fartleks where I am doing these puzzles definitely at a higher speed, like maybe a speed that I would actually start on during a competition, but then the intention was to actually stop once I realized that I was slowing down, take a break, and then come back to it like Victor says and do it again. Now, the problem that I had doing this is that I couldn't tell when I was slowing down. Eventually over time, once I really wasn't putting in pieces for several minutes, then I could tell, then I could say, okay, I've slowed down, it's time to take a break. But quite honestly, it took me a little bit to recognize that I was slowing down, and I think that's just something that I need to work on. Yeah, and I also didn't really like taking the breaks for a larger piece count, like a 500 and above. I would get really frustrated only being able to puzzle until I realized I was slowing down. And then my inclination was to just not recognize that I was slowing down so I could continue to puzzle it for a longer duration. So in the future, if I were to do this again, I definitely wouldn't do a higher piece count with this type of interval training. I would definitely keep it smaller if possible, just so I wouldn't get so frustrated. Here's the documentation of the activities I did over 6 weeks. I really tried to do a short interval, a long interval, and a fartlek type interval once per week. So 3 intervals per week plus a 500-piece puzzle, just a normal speed run of that particular puzzle. You'll also notice that I ended up taking a fair amount of just casual puzzling days, as well as rest days, just to kind of recuperate from all of the interval training that I was doing. So at the end of the 6 weeks, I came back to the puzzle community and tried to finish it up. I wanted to show you guys the last few pieces going in, just to see my reaction to the time I got. No! No! So in case it's not clear, I was not happy with those results. I ended up being about 7 minutes slower than my time I had done 6 weeks prior. And that was really unexpected. After crying about it for a few minutes, I had to go back and try to figure out what happened. Looking at my activity log, you can see that I had done about an hour of long intervals the day before. And I just thought, it's probably just a fluke. I had a really bad day. Sometimes, you just randomly are slow sometimes. And maybe this was one of those days, and I figured I would go back, redo a different 500-piece puzzle I had done about 6 weeks ago and see. Maybe this time it'll be different. So I picked up this bluebird puzzle I had done before called Taffy Shop, and I redid it. And guess what? I got about 2 minutes slower than I had about 6 weeks ago. So son of a I have no idea what is going on. I did all this interval training for what? I'm not even sure at this point. So I went back and then thought, well, maybe I'll do a comparison of the community puzzle, looking at different time frames and seeing where I was with each one. In the upper left-hand corner is my puzzle after doing the interval speed training. And you can see that I'm about 5 to 10 pieces behind my original puzzle time. Looking at the 40-minute mark, you can see that I'm still about 5 to 10 pieces behind in the upper left-hand corner. This doesn't really seem to change until you get to about the 50-minute mark. Here's the 60-minute mark, and you can definitely see that the blue globe in the bottom puzzle, it is almost complete, whereas in the upper left-hand puzzle, I haven't even really started it. So you can tell that somewhere around the 50-minute mark, I had actually fallen off the map in terms of keeping up with my original puzzle time. And then as we move forward, you can definitely see that by the 120 mark, the puzzle, most of the puzzle is complete at this point, and it never really changes. I slow down consistently after the 15-minute mark on my after having done the interval training. Then at the end of November, I had done a mini tourney through speedpuzzling.com. And for the solos, I had gotten a time of 36:30, which was really fast for me. So I thought to myself, maybe I am actually getting faster, but at a lower piece count. Because a lot of the intervals that I had been doing were at a lower piece count. I was doing the 100-piece puzzles. I was mostly doing 300s when I was doing the long intervals. And then for the fartleks, I even ended up going to a lower piece count towards the end because it was irritating to start and stop on a bigger puzzle. I guess at this point, I just got to check it and see if I'm actually faster at a lower piece count. And luckily, 6 weeks prior, I had done Ravensburger, the 300-piece one-piece puzzle, and I originally finished it in 42 minutes and 45 seconds. And here, what you'll eventually see is that I'm finishing it in 38 minutes and 24 seconds, which is over 4 minutes faster. So I am actually getting faster, and the speed intervals are working. I just haven't upped the speed interval duration enough to notice it on a 500-piece puzzle. And so basically all it means to me for me is that there's more work to be done on speed intervals. In conclusion, interval training works. Yay! If I actually look back at the two 500-piece puzzles that I finished, the first one being community puzzle, I ended up being around 7 minutes or 7.27% slower. So much fun. If we look at the taffy shop, I ended up being just under 2 minutes or 2.28% slower. But then if I actually look at a 300-piece puzzle, which falls under the duration that I was actually practicing under these past 6 weeks for my interval training, I look at the one-piece puzzle and I ended up being over 4 minutes faster, or 10.17% faster, which is amazing because this blew out of the water my typical 6-week improvement time, typically, which is 5.11%. So I've essentially doubled it doing interval training. But I should mention that there is one caveat here. Obviously, this is a 300-piece puzzle, not a 500-piece puzzle, which kind of leads into the main thing that I learned here is that if you actually want to do improve your overall performance, you really need to increase your interval training time to hit the piece count that you actually want to do. So due to these results, I would like to revisit my plan, my interval training plan. I would also, going forward, just choose one of the interval trainings. I would choose the short intervals, what I'm calling the short intervals, where you start with a 100-piece puzzle, do that multiple times to try to improve your time, and then slowly work your way up to a 200, a 300, and ultimately a 500-piece puzzle. Yeah, so I'm really excited to try that. That's something I'll have to showcase here in the near future. But until then, I hope everyone has a wonderful time puzzling and speedy puzzle vibes.